All right. We did our organizational change project on the buyout of the Washington Commanders. My name is Mike Denton.
Gary Koch.
I'm Evan.
And I'm Brenna Harris.
So to start with the problem, Dan Snyder was the owner of the Washington Commanders since 1999 is when he bought the team. But as his time as an owner, it has been filled with a lot of controversy, and he has not been well liked by many of the fans. Some of the not so notable incidents was he had a couple sexual harassment claims by cheerleaders and female employees for various reasons. Multiple altercations with the fans. He once sued a group of fans during the 2008 stock market crash to pay their student ticket, not their student, their season ticket fees, and that caused a lot of backlash. He obviously had controversy over the previous name of the Washington Commanders. He once said that he would never change the name, but obviously, after some backlash and some sensitivity issues, he did change it. And other notable things that we don't have time to get into, but other owners have called in, said that he needs to sell the team and that he's not a fit owner to lead an NFL team or be present in the NFL. So in 2023, a group led by Josh Harris and other notable individuals like Magic Johnson um, put in a bid to buy the team that was later accepted. Um, we would categorize this type of change as a transformational change, as the takeover by the Josh Harris group was immediate. As soon as the bid was finalized, they took over and started doing things the way they felt. And then to categorize it more, it'd be a gamma A change, which is they change some of the processes of the organization, but the organization as a whole still has one goal, which is winning football games. Just going on to some context about how this affects some of the people. The new owners had a big task of changing the very negative culture that was developed by the previous owner, Dan Snyder. There's plenty of things we could talk about, but some things I'd like to highlight was that Dan Snyder did not often consult with coaches before making any type of roster moves, which can be really difficult for when you're trying to win football games, when your owner is a little steadfast and moves without warrants. Um, Harris, on the other hand, and his group is more trusting in the people that he puts in place, like his head coach and his general manager. He has more experience running teams. He has ownership in the New Jersey Devils and the Philadelphia 76ers. And his type of ownership has been described by others he's worked with as he's involved but not meddling. So he loves to hear what's going on in his organization, but he trusts the people he puts in place to kind of do the right thing, and he's not going to second guess people or go behind their back. For some of the employees, there obviously was some staff changes. In instances like this, a lot of owners likes to bring in their own staff that they trust. So new head coach, new general manager, and some other higher staff levels. So unfortunately, there was some layoffs in that. But also the employees that were left were tasked with embracing this new culture change. And from reports, a lot of them were on board with it. A lot of them also did not agree with some of Dan Snyder's practices. So the new culture change was welcomed by those employees. The players, on the other hand, will also welcome these changes because they were some needed changes that needed to be done. The Washington Commanders ranked dead last in NFLPA grades on many facilities in theirs, and they knew things needed to be done, but under the previous ownership, stuff was not really taken care of. So they admitted that they had confidence in the new ownership to kind of improve the daily life of the players. And then the fans, after having a pretty trivial relationship with the previous ownership, the fans welcomed this new ownership. They were seen at a press conference, they were seen like shaking hands and being very grateful that Josh Harris had taken over, but also they were excited to create a better relationship with management and something that they feel like their voices can be heard by the new management.
So, when talking about the view from the top, we must look directly at the leadership. The change in management caused a major shift within the goal, like all of the goals of the franchise. Like Mike said, the first thing that Josh Harris wanted with the new leadership was to rebrand the culture. He really wanted to transform the toxic environment by implementing positive communication throughout the franchise, whether this is with the leadership, the employees, the fans, the players, just really everybody involved. The second thing that he wanted to do was focus on the community and the fan engagement. He wanted to really rebuild the trust within the sponsors. They did get dropped by a lot of sponsors, so he just really wanted to rebuild this relationship with them as well as the fans. And then the last thing that he wanted to do was create immediate change, like we said earlier. Um, this did cause a lot of pressure just due to the short amount of time between the seasons and the buyout. But we see this because it is a Gamma A change and a very transformational change. So looking at it from the top, we also want to look at it from the bottom. Perfect. So from the bottom, we want to really focus on the fans, the employees, and the players. So the employees in the beginning had a very large resistance to the change just because, creating a new environment in a workplace is very concerning for a lot of people. Um, they were they were resistant to change in the beginning, but they really wanted to be hopeful of the future just to get away from like the dysfunctional environment that was created by the previous owners. So they were excited about new leadership. The players also felt this resistance, but this was really caused from just a disruption to the training and just a change of pretty much everything involved within the franchise. But it was shortly turned into excitement after seeing Harris's commitment to the team personally and firsthand. And then the fans were very excited overall about the change. They really wanted to have the respect that the team deserved, and they felt like this could be a very meaningful change. So just all over, we really see there's a lot of resistance from every single side that you could see, but overall, they were very hopeful about all of the changes involved.
All right. Next, we're going to go through the change response and the many tenets of the response that we saw. So first, the transitioning ownership. Uh, at the heart of the transformation for the Washington Commanders was the transition from Dan Schneider to the new ownership. The change was widely anticipated as his tenure was fraught with controversy, including the allegations of misconduct and poor management. Um, the new ownership represents a clean slate, allowing the franchise to redefine its identity and focus on long-term stability and success. It also allows the new ownership to come in and emphasize transparency and ethical practices for however long they remain in that leadership role. Commitment to change. Under the new leadership, there is a renewed commitment to transparency, as I said, in operations and in decision making. The leadership aims to involve fans in the direction of the team through open forums and feedback mechanisms. This proactive approach that they are attempting to take in the aftermath of Snyder's leadership is designed to build trust, acknowledging the past grievances that occurred and working collaboratively towards a better future for the organization. Third, community engagement. So the Commanders understand that rebuilding relationships with their fan base is crucial. Obviously, they put themselves in the stands and buy all the merch and whatnot and keep that organization going. So rebuilding those relationships is absolutely crucial. To that end, they are launching several community engagements initiatives that we saw, including stuff like town hall meetings where they meet with fans to discuss team developments and gather feedback, community events, participating in local events and charities to enhance visibility and foster goodwill within the community. And another one that we noticed was fan advisory committees, establishing committees composed of fans to provide input on team policies and initiatives, ensuring that their voices are heard, unlike the last regime that was in with Dan Snyder. So fourth, cultural transformation. The cultural transformation within the Commanders is pivotal to their renewed vision. This involves things like diversity and inclusion training, programs for all staff to cultivate an environment of respect and inclusivity, player support systems, structures for players, including mental health resources and career development guidance, and aimed at building a cohesive team atmosphere, and a positive leadership practice where they emphasize ethical leadership and accountability, with attributions being made to all levels of management to create a culture of integrity. Let's see, on-field performance. As mentioned before, this is the ultimate goal for the organization, is to get wins, but do it with an organization that has integrity. So enhancing the on-field performance is a primary focus for the new leadership. So this includes talent assessment and acquisition like usual, um, evaluation of existing players, and an aggressive recruitment strategy for talented prospects, including scouting for both the draft and free agency. Making sure the coaching's good, and the development's good. Investing in training programs for coaching staff to implement cutting edge strategies that maximize player potential and improve teamwork. And then finally, performance metrics, using data analytics to develop metrics that offer insights into player performance and game strategy. The future outlook, the Commanders are embracing an optimistic outlook as they move away from Snyder's turbulent tenure. And they just want to emphasize consistent communication, a long-term vision that includes sustainable growth and competitive success rather than quick fixes, and fan-centric policies that focus on enhancing fan experiences both at home games and within the community.
Yeah, and so looking at the change itself, it is pretty recent, but it is pretty easy to say that it's been successful so far, with only being a year and a half since the change in ownership. Things are looking only up and up. If you look at the two pretty much main factors that we can really evaluate, monetary and on-field performance. Monetarily speaking, at the end of 2023, they were the 26th ranked team in operating profits, which they had 110 million in operating profit. In comparison to the Cowboys, who were number one, they had 510 million in operating profits. So pretty big difference there. And then value. So the Washington Commanders, after the sale of the team, had the 10th highest value in the league going into the 2024 season at 6.3 billion. Previously, prior to the sale in 2022, they were worth 5.6 billion. So a pretty significant jump there, just because of the new ownership and what they can bring to the table. And in terms of on-field performance, we've discussed a new team that they had to bring in basically once they got the new owner in. Following that season, for an almost cleared house of some of the top brass. So they brought in a new head coach, new general manager, new team president, and even a new face of the franchise, a number two overall draft pick, Jaden Daniels. Go Tigers. And with that, they went from a 4-13 season in 2023 to a 8-5 team right now, with hopes for the playoffs, second in their division, I believe. So things are definitely looking up, and the future can only go up from there for them. In terms of definite pros, a renewed team culture, everyone's in the mood of winning. And that's definitely something that when you bring in a new whole crew, you want to change that culture. So the losing culture, the culture of confusion, is completely changed with a winning culture. Renewed commitment. We've seen from everyone that they want to move forward, move ahead. And then increase sales and revenue. So looking at things from the new ownership, ticket revenue has climbed 28%, suites revenue 53%. So the fans, as we were talking about, are excited for this team and they're excited to come back. So they're buying more tickets, making more sales, and an inclusion of that. The team does own the stadium in which they play at. So they actually have plans for the future to use that stadium for new things, new concerts. As we discussed, they're looking at renovating the stadium, making a better experience for everyone. So that's definitely a positive. And then in terms of a con, they're not really addressing some of the controversies of the past, which in some ways is a positive because the team is focused on the on the field product, and as long as the on the field product's great and fans are enthused, not many people are talking about the controversies or the name problems. So that's, they're kind of moving on from that. But that being said, that's a problem that, given the history of this franchise, will probably just come up again in the future.
All right, to wrap up here, we'll kind of go through our reflection on what we uh, gleaned from this situation and this change. So the first thing for this organization would be to establish clear governance structures, kind of to mitigate, risks associated with ownership transitions. Establishing a robust governance structure is would be a good idea for them. A clear framework ensures transparency and decision making processes, and allows for multiple voices to contribute. This could involve creating an independent board of advisors consisting of diverse stakeholders, including former players, community leaders, excuse me, and legal experts to avoid their past transgressions. This board would provide oversight and accountability, significantly reducing the risk of decisions that could lead to controversy, similar to what was experienced under Snyder. Emphasize communications and transparency. As I said, effective communication is critical during transitions. Future ownership changes should prioritize open and consistent dialogue with fans and stakeholders, as they're who you're appealing to with these sorts of things. This can be achieved through regular updates on organizational developments, strategic goals, and team performance. Engaging fans with interactive Q&A sessions, surveys, and feedback channels would help alleviate concerns and make them feel part of the process. Transparency builds trust and fosters a stronger connection between the team and its supporters. Comprehensive due diligence. Conducting comprehensive due diligence before an ownership change is really vital. This involves a thorough evaluation of potential owners, assessing their backgrounds, values, and vision for the franchise, so you aren't put in a bad position, as this organization was with Dan Snyder. It's essential to ensure alignment between the new owner's philosophy and the team's culture and community expectations. Let's see, develop a strategic transition plan. So a well-structured transition plan is crucial for minimizing disruptions during ownership changes. This plan should outline critical timelines, objectives, and specific strategies for retaining staff and reassessing roles, making sure that everybody in the organization is in lockstep for the future and nobody is swaying or going away from the goals of the organization that they are leading. A comprehensive plan aids in maintaining focus on the team goals, ensuring that the players and staff can continue their work with minimal disruption, which is particularly important in the competitive field of sports when you're trying to win championships. Prioritize cultural and ethical values. Clearly, that was not done under Snyder. Future ownership should place a strong emphasis on this. The cultural and ethical values that resonate with the fan base and the community. This includes promoting diversity and inclusion within the organization, fostering an environment where all individuals feel valued, implementing ethical guidelines that govern behavior at all organizational levels, et cetera, et cetera. These values should be clearly communicated to fans and stakeholders to create a unified mission that enhances community trust and support, as we've talked previously in this presentation. And then finally, foster long-term relationships with key stakeholders. Building these long-term relationships with fans, local communities, and sponsors is important to maintain stability during and after these ownership transitions, especially after turbulent ones like Snyder's. Ownership should prioritize community engagement initiatives such as participating in local events and supporting charitable causes. Long-term commitment to community involvement helps to strengthen the bond with fans and creates a loyal support base. And kind of in conclusion, the transition from Dan Snyder's ownership provides valuable lessons that can inform the future ownership changes that we've seen by emphasizing the clear governance, open communication, comprehensive due diligence, strategic planning, ethical values, and strong stakeholder relationships. Organizations can navigate ownership transitions more effectively. A thoughtful approach will not only protect the integrity of the franchise, but also enhance the overall experience for the fans, players, and the community alike. This proactive strategy positions the organization for a more stable and prosperous future. Thanks for listening.